Hey everyone, it's Andrea Logan White, and welcome back to the Healing Tribe. Last episode, we heard Heather's testimony, and today you get to hear Tiffany's testimony, and you actually struggled with many of the things that Heather did as well. So we are excited to hear your story and kind of how God has used your story to help others. So let's hear it.
Great, thank you. So the basics of my story is I was very healthy. And I went into the military at 17. And one of the big, things that happened was I had a date rape in the military about 19. And I started, I mean, clearly that was quite shocking to me. And anyways, I started having physical symptoms after that. I started, obviously struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. And that was kind of the beginning. Also, I had another sexual assault in the military, and it was with a doctor. It was a civilian doctor. So the actual United States Navy actually sued the doctor, and I was a part of that lawsuit. It's pretty intense. But I just continued to, develop. It was just ever so subtle, like little symptoms, and then it eventually, got bigger and better. Well, in the military, I was diagnosed with migraines, based on like MRI and all that stuff, and then got out of the military. So I got married to my husband. It was so amazing. And we went away for our honeymoon and got back. And a day later, my husband found out that his mom had terminal cancer. When I found that out, I was like devastated. And he was like devastated. And I really didn't know what to do with that. And, but I just started randomly having chronic pain, insomnia, and was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. So I was in college, had to go down from full-time college to part-time school, and was, treated as if I had a disability, basically. Right. And then at age 25, I went through a pain clinic at the VA. And they had tried all sorts of medications. They tested me for everything under the sun, and I spent quite a lot of time at the VA hospital. And they said, "You have fibromyalgia. There's nothing we can do about it. You're going to need to go to this pain clinic and learn how to cope with it, and not commit suicide or homicide." I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Those are good options.
It feels really discouraging, And so I did. I went to a pain clinic, and I went with like older veterans, and I was shocked that I was in there. And, they're like trying to teach me skills to deal with chronic pain, and that you're going to have this for the rest of your life. And I had a specific like severe case of fibromyalgia. So anyways, I had a lot of stomach problems, and I'm trying to think of how it happened. Yeah, so fast forward a little while, and I was getting progressively worse. I was in bed a lot. I got pregnant with my daughter, and that went well. Had her, and after I had her, I got pregnant again, and that was the big one for me. I ended up having a partial molar tumor pregnancy, so it was basically a pregnancy-induced cancer. And I was supposed to be pregnant with twins, but one of the eggs was empty. And so it basically was fertilized and became a tumor. So we lost the baby in the process. And we lost the baby. And then I had to get surgery. And then we just kind of watched, because something was in my lungs at the time. And so they just watched that. So basically let, this tumor grow. And ultimately the stuff in my lungs with 5 months, it was threatening my life. I probably would have been dead in like a year if I didn't do something about it. But so I had to have chemotherapy, and that was probably one of my worst, one of the worst places that I could have been in. But I did the chemotherapy, did the surgery, mourned the loss of our baby, was so devastated. And then afterwards, that's when the kicker came, is I developed 24 food allergies and sensitivities, and started having, these anaphylactic reactions. And that was really humbling, because I could always eat anything I ever wanted to eat or drink. I was totally fine. And so that was really difficult. And so tons of medications, tons of doctors, tried biofeedback, tried self-hypnosis, tried brain-based therapy, eventually got to a point of, trying all this stuff just to try to get better. And one of the last main diagnoses that I had was, it was like my liver and kidneys were shutting down. And so I was having high levels of bilirubin. And so then they gave me a really long diagnosis, and I was like, man, I can't memorize this one. I think I'm good. I'm like, because I had all these diseases memorized,
Right.
It was really something that I was doing well for quite a while. But I just was like, wow, I can't keep being on these medications forever. Like my body, I had a doctor tell me when I was 25, he was like, you have to be really careful because your liver and kidneys will not be able to tolerate all these medications. And sure enough, eventually it did come to a head, and I was like, yeah, I have to become medicine free. So what happened is a friend of ours, I had, our church actually had this couple come in, and they were talking about, it was a marriage class, and it was really great. And they had this test that you could take so that you can learn about like your life traps and stuff like that. Well, I did the test and I failed the test. I had all the life traps. I had all the life traps. I was like unrelenting standards, and I had traumas and all these different things. I saw things in such a negative way, and so I called the lady who had done the class, and I told her like I did horrible on the test, and what do I do? And she said, well, your past sounds very similar to Heather's. With the military, with some of the hardships in childhood, all this stuff. She was like, she's actually better now. And I was like, I mean, honestly, like I didn't say anything, but I felt like saying, like, you're lying, she is not better, because Heather I had seen her before. She'd spoken at a conference. And when I saw her, I know she thought she was hiding everything really well, but I actually saw her and identified with her. And I was like, she's going to die. No, not kidding you. Not kidding you. That was my fate. Like, I had been diagnosed with so many things. Yep. It's like, Tiffany, you're going to die, and I had spent so many years in bed. And, so anyways, I was shocked when my friend told me that Heather had gotten better. I was like, whatever, this is so not true. And she's like, call Heather. And sure enough, I called her. But my thought process was like, people like her and me, we die.
Right, because you only get worse.
You just get worse. That's every time you go in, you get new diagnoses. Yep. You have heavy medical records. Yeah. Right, tons of medications. And so I talked to Heather, and she was like, yep, I'm better, and I'm going through these trainings. And I was like, sign me up. And I was currently going through a brain-based therapy. And there were some things that I had noticed that helped, but everything was so minor. And the doctor's like, oh yeah, you can try to get off the fibromyalgia medicine. Horrible idea. Like my body it's like amazing, but like I forget all this stuff because I'm so healthy now, but it's like everything in my body, like all my muscles became mush, and I had pain everywhere. And it was like marbles in my body. Like my spine was like marbles. It was like pain everywhere. And I'm like, no, I did this brain-based therapy, spent all this money on this, right, and I cannot get off. I cannot be medicine free. So anyways, I did what Heather had suggested. She actually really challenged me though, and was like, this is, go after it, be tenacious. And I was actually desperate. I felt like this was my last ditch effort to living. Cause I was so desperate, I felt like, I want to be here, for my family, and I want to live, but I felt like I just want to die. You know what I mean? Like, why should people have to live in chronic pain constantly, being medicated constantly, being at doctors? Like, I couldn't be a good mom. You know what I mean? I was sleeping all the time.
And your life, and if I could back up a minute, because your life as you deal with chronic illness gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's like God gives, the enemy takes away. And so it's like all of a sudden you're living this small of a life. Right. And I did see both of your testimonies on YouTube, and I see you now. People would never know either of you are sick. You're glowing, you're beautiful, you're vibrant, you're radiant. Like, you guys literally shine. But take the audience back, like just a typical day raising babies, or how much you were in bed, or what was the mental mindset, because you guys both love Jesus. I mean, you got that card right, and we're saved. We know we're going to be pain-free in heaven. And I know even so many people that deal with it now, and that I'm overcoming stuff. Oh, well, once you get to heaven, you'll be good. So I should just take one for the team, because that's how we all typical people think. Like it's part of a lesson. It's what I'm learning. And I guess I haven't had the revelation yet. And that's really a dark, awful place to be, because I've lived many years of that. And so take us back into like what your typical day in your life would be with your family, your husband, all of that.
So one of the worst places that I was at was when, I think that, just being honest, I don't think anesthesia helped me at all. Okay. With these surgeries. And so I think it made things even worse. So not only the 24 food allergies, which I didn't even know that was what was happening, but I would wake up around noon and my husband would take care of my daughter and she would go to school. And it's so humbling to think of now, but I would wake up and I'd be up till 2:30. I would go in the kitchen and I would spin, literally. I was falling into walls. Wow. I was falling into walls. I was spinning. I couldn't figure out how to make a bowl of cereal. So I would finally eat about 2:30 in the afternoon. And then my daughter would, I would get her from school or she'd come home and then I'd need to go to sleep again. So, and then I'd be in bed. My husband would come home from work. I would get up. We did a very basic, minimalistic lifestyle. I was the opposite of you. Everybody knew I was sick. I mean, people were bringing me this and that. And, it was very different, of an experience. I was spinning. I was falling into walls.
What was that from? Is that from a medication, or is that one of the things that you were diagnosed with?
Well, I think I was creating very well, like Heather was saying. I mean, I was in a heightened state of stress constantly. Yeah. Does that make sense? And so I was very driven, honestly, just being honest, in the ministry. Like I thought, I'm doing all this great stuff for God. So I would really do good things on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. And come Monday, here I am all week in the bed.
Stay tuned for more on our next episode.
With over 10,000 titles, it would be impossible for us to show you everything on pureflix.com. But let's give it a shot.